Hello friends, today we will be discussing the next part of the topic fermented dairy product, where we will lay more stress on the product yogurt and discuss some other products as well. Yogurt, the common term commonly applied as curd or dahi in the Indian subcontinent, slightly differs from the usual yogurt culture. Now, yogurt basically should consists of the two bacteria, namely Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus in 1:1 ratio. This is essential. Now, the common curd or dahi most of us consume do not always constitute these two organisms, and many a times may be also including various other lactic acid bacteria. Generally, how do we prepare curd or dahi at home is by using a leftover culture from the previous day and using it to inoculate the fresh milk. So, it is not sure as to the what kind of organism specifically may be present. Now, coming to history, basically we see that it was Stamen Grigorov who undertook a lot of pain in identifying these two organisms in Bulgarian yogurt. He was working on Bulgarian yogurt and described the two organisms Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. Later, it was Eli Mechnikov who advocated the use of yogurt in daily food. And finally, it was Isaac Caruso who industrialized the yogurt culture and named it Dannon after his son Daniel. To define yogurt, FAO, that is Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, as well as World Health Organization, who jointly defined yogurt as yogurt and flavor yogurt respectively as the coagulated milk product obtained by lactic acid fermentation through the action of Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. This is present in the standards number 11A and 11B. Now, what are the different yogurt types? Three basic yogurt types are noted. The first is a stirred yogurt, the second variety a set type, and the third one commonly called as bioyogurt. The first one, in the stirred yogurt case, once the curd formation takes place, it is broken down, the coagulum is broken down to give rise to a drinkable product. The second one, that is the set yogurt, generally after inoculation, it is already packed into the retail pots and then given for incubation. While the third variety, that is the bioyogurt, contains active live cultures, which we know by the term probiotic cultures. Now, specific ingredients are used for yogurt production. Milk should be of a very good quality, and it may also include cream, milk powder and other such variants to increase the SNF, that is solid non-fat, to as high as 11 or 15%. In ordinary cow milk, SNF is at a level of around 8.5%, while to produce yogurt, we generally require higher SNF content. The second in the ingredients list is the sweeteners. Commonly, sucrose, fructose, aspartame may be added to increase the sweet taste. Stabilizers, the third category, include certain gums, pectins, which are meant to hold the gel, that is the curd gel, in position and reduce senescence. Fruits and flavors and other condiments may also be added depending on the type of product being produced. Plain yogurts are very common, but we also have fruits and flavors added to it. And lastly, not to forget, we also should include the starter culture in the ingredient list, which is obviously the two bacteria, Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. Coming to the method of manufacture. Now, as we have seen for other ingredients and other production units, here also, first, the milk is very important. Microbiological quality of the milk should be excellent so that it does not compete with the starter organism. As already mentioned, the SNF should be increased to 11 to 15%. All these work is known as standardization of the milk. Now, once the milk is standardized, we send it for homogenization, which means again reduction of the size of fat globules to maintain homogeneity in the product. Next, the milk is heated to around 80 to 90 degrees centigrade for approximately 30 minutes. We do not carry out a sterilization protocol, but a heating regime undertaken using a plate heat exchanger is often used. This will help remove any contaminating organisms which might have entered, and it will also help in the whey expulsion and prevent the senescence process. After the heat treatment, the milk is cooled down to around 10 degrees centigrade, can be held for a little time, and which followed by inoculating of the starter organisms which is added at a 2% level. Now, this is slightly different in case of set yogurt. If we are planning to produce set yogurt, we will inoculate and then dispense the inoculated milk into the retail packs or pots. While if we are not planning to go for set yogurt and instead go for stirred yogurt, we will simply incubate the whole milk in a vat at 38 to 40 degrees centigrade, held for 4 to 6 hours. And during this time, 4 to 6 hours, actual fermentation in the milk will take place, while the milk sugar lactose will get converted to lactic acid by the fermentation pathway known as lactic acid fermentation, brought about by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase, elaborated by the starter cultures. Then we will cool the product to 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, and next would be, if we are about to produce stirred yogurt, then we should go for fruit and flavor addition. If it is the other case, that is set yogurt, directly after cooling, we will send it for packaging and storage at 5 degrees centigrade. This is how a yogurt can be produced. After the product has been produced, let us see exactly what is the composition of a typical commercial yogurt. We'll see that milk solid non-fat is 8.25 to 14%, so pretty high, and we do have fat percentage here which can be from 3 or it can be even nil. That is, we can also have non-fat yogurt. Sugar appreciable amount and stabilizers which are artificially added can amount to about 2%. Now, all this is said, but we actually should understand what microbiology is occurring within these two starter organisms. Why are these two starter organisms so very important for yogurt production? The association between these two starter culture is known as proto-cooperation, meaning they eventually help each other and promote their growth. If we inoculate these two organisms separately in milk, they will grow on their own, cause the desired changes and be present there. But if inoculated together, they have this synergistic effect brought about and milk is faster fermented to give lactic acid. How exactly this happens? Now you see that proteins are converted to peptides by proteolytic enzymes which will release amino acids. This is brought about by Lactobacillus bulgaricus because Lactobacillus bulgaricus utilizes the proteolytic enzymes in these bacteria and converts the peptides into usable amino acids like valine, which can be utilized by Streptococcus thermophilus. Now, on the other hand, Streptococcus thermophilus is producing formic acid and carbon dioxide. Both are being taken up by Lactobacillus for their growth. So, both are mutually helping each other for the growth. So, basically, we'll see that in milk, if inoculated with the two starters, Streptococcus thermophilus would grow first and then reduce the pH slightly, wherein Lactobacillus bulgaricus would grow later and bring about the major amount of lactic acid in the milk. Other compounds like acetaldehyde and diacetyl are also produced, which contribute to the typical yogurt flavor. Now, lactic acid that is produced will reduce the pH, likewise help in the dissolution of calcium and phosphate ions, and these will leave the casein micelles, bringing the whole contents into a gel or a coagulum, which we commonly call as curd. Now, after having a good understanding of what exactly happens in a yogurt production, we are going to briefly mention about a probiotic culture which is very often made in yogurt. Yogurt has been chosen as the main vehicle for carrying these probiotic cultures because of its property of having enough nutrients for the growth of these probiotic cultures. The term probiotic is usually used to refer to cultures of live microorganisms which, when administered to humans or animals, improve properties of indigenous flora. So probiotic organisms goes into the intestine with these fermented products, most often in yogurt, and gets implanted into the intestine of human beings. These good bacteria will eliminate most of the pathogenic forms and help restore the indigenous microflora of intestine, giving us a good stomach feel. Now, these are certain applications, or we can say benefits, that we derive from probiotics. Probiotic organisms aids in digestion. They generally reach the intestine alive, and that is the reason they can survive and grow in numbers. And preferably, if they are administered along with some prebiotics, like it can be galactose, it can be inulin, these compounds are helping in the growth of the lactic starters, and when administered together, that is a prebiotic and a probiotic called as symbiotic, these eliminate most pathogenic forms in the intestine by outcompeting them. They grow in huge numbers. Now we come to the next product, that is kefir. This is called as milk champagne. Now, kefir has a history. If we see in the Caucasus regions, people used to consume this product even in BC. What they used to do was, they took typical animal bladder and kept the milk there, and they did not know what was happening, but some certain warmth giving area was chosen, like the back door of the house, wherein these milk kept in the bladder would ferment to give a typical product like kefir. This is an interesting product because along with lactic acid bacteria, the yeasts are also inoculated, which will offer ethanol production, and thus final product is effervescent, and we call these as acid alcohol product. So kefir and kumis, as we will be discussing next, both are effervescent product containing lactic acid plus ethanol, and as well as other flavor components. But kefir production incorporates a special use of kefir grains. What are these kefir grains actually? If you see them, they are just like cauliflowers. They appear very translucent at times and maybe whitish to yellowish white in color. And when dissolved in milk, they will produce and grow in numbers, that is swell, and the whole structure increases in size. Now, what is actually consisting in these kefir grains? This is made up of mainly the lactic acid bacteria, yeasts, and some other bacteria together in a symbiotic relationship, as well as has a particular polysaccharide called as kefiran. Now, all these produced in a single matrix is looking like a cauliflower structure, which is very well seen in the slide. When the milk is used, principally cow milk, kefir grains are inoculated and it's left to ferment. You can retain the kefir granules because they will swell, and you can pick them up from top and retain them, use them later. So this is an effervescent drink and has many nutritive property. On a similar note, we have kumis, but the origin is different. It is Russia, and as such, very uncommon in Indian subcontinent, but very widely used in the Russian area. Again, a horse bladder is often used for preparation of kumis. Nowadays, kumis or kefir can be made from cow milk. In case of kumis, we have an additional interesting fact to discuss, is that mare's milk or camel milk is often used. and this results in a non-coagulated product because mare milk contains sugars in a higher percentage. So ethanol production is higher, and because the constituent slightly differs, the product, that is ethanol content, also increases. So we do not see a set or coagulated product in case of kumis. Instead, it is a very effervescent drink, very chilled and refreshing to drink. To wind up, we have two other products, the film milk and the villi, which are other categories of fermented dairy products. These two basically have a different kind of a texture or a structure, and that is of a ropey milk. Typical fungi like Geotrichum candidum may be involved in the production of a ropey milk, giving rise to a highly thick and viscous top layer, while the lower part can be slightly lighter. These are known as spoonable product, meaning you have to consume them with a spoon. So all this, and finally coming to end note or concluding note, I would like to say that you can enjoy kefir, kumis, or even probiotic Yakult drink, but please remember that these are all fermented dairy products definitely brought about by fermentation using some species or the other, principally of the general lactic acid bacteria. And most of these may even benefit your gut. You may have a fuller feeling as well as a good gut and stomach once you consume these products on a regular basis. Remember to use the product that suits you the best, whether it's a curd or a yogurt or a villi or kumis or whatever you choose to. Thank you.